I loved this movie. I thought it was absolutely spectacular. But we're going to start the review in the mindset I had going in, which was not a good one. And the reason I want to start here is because after I saw the press screening, and I was going around telling, I tweeted about how good it was, but I was telling people I know, wow, Beautiful Boy is something special. And without fail, every single person I talked to personally was like, that seems like lame to me. That seems like the same old, same old. So I want to let you know that I was in the same place that I'm sure many of you are, if not all of you are, but I want to convince you that you should still see this movie. Oh, it's so good. All right, so going into the film, I thought, whew, just another Steve Carell weepy. And to be fair, the first few he made were impressive and entertaining, but after a while, they've all started to seem the same, right? And in fact, he's got another one coming out in December. And then there's Plan B, which is Brad Pitt's production company. Brad Pitt, of course, has become quite the prolific producer, winning an Oscar for producing, not for acting. Fascinating. But his company has become a bit of an awards factory. And this year they have their usual batch of contenders that are so well engineered, they almost seem disingenuous. They're like the Pixar of award season. That's what Plan B is becoming. And also Steve Carell has been trying to win an Oscar for quite some time. The whole thing is just really transparent, right? Then as for Timothee Chalamet, it's hard to be the it actor, right? Especially when Call Me By Your Name never really connected with the industry or audiences overall. He did gain an intense fan following from that movie, but that doesn't necessarily translate into a career all the time. All right. So I didn't have high expectations going in. I felt that it was just going to be, again, very disingenuous, very transparent Oscar play, and stuff I'd seen before. Right. But from scene one, I was totally blown away by this movie. Beautiful Boy is an acting tour de force by both Steve Carell and Timothee Chalamet. And I really want to emphasize the acting. That was so cool to see. Remember the 70s? The 70s are in fact going to play a lot into this review. But in the 70s, they just put a camera down, put two actors in front of it, and they would act the crap out of that scene, right? I'm talking about the kinds of scenes that people pull for acting class these days, right? And if you've ever studied acting even casually, or seen a show, let's say like Barry, you know what I'm talking about, right? And it was so cool to see a new movie like that, right? Now, I'm not saying there isn't great acting on display today, but there's always like VFX or like, cinematography filters or quick editing, right? Clever editing in the mix. Beautiful Boy, though, is raw, powerful acting. And while the movie references the John Lennon song of the title of the movie, it also reminded me of Cats in the Cradle as a rare, important look at the complex relationships between fathers and sons. And while Luca Guadagnino infused every aspect of Call Me By Your Name with his creative voice, like you constantly felt his hand, right? It was amazing. Belgium's Felix van Groningen steps back and does more of an assist to the script and the actors performing it. If this were the 1970s, this film would star Dustin Hoffman in the Steve Carell role, and Steve Carell actually does Hoffman's legacy justice. It's not like, I wish this had been made in the 70s so Dustin Hoffman could be in it. It's like, wow, this is right up there with Dustin Hoffman's most iconic work. Really good. As for Chalamet, since David Sheff's son became a mystery to him through drug addiction, this is based on a real-life story, by the way. I think that adds to, the movie's powerful nature. But Chalamet's character is kept at a distance to the audience. He's a mystery to Steve Carell and therefore a mystery to us, which works, by the way. But it's an obstacle, it's a hurdle for Chalamet. But I'm happy to say it's one that he clears, and he still manages to make an impression, especially when he's going toe-to-toe with Carell in the acting. Oh, it's so good. And this is such a 180 from his Call Me By Your Name character that Chalamet proves he's not just a skilled actor, but a versatile one as well. This was it's interesting because, I have such a strong impression of Chalamet from Call Me By Your Name and also the fan base that's erupted around him. For him to totally change his persona was really amazing to watch. Also, Jack Dylan Grazer is so well cast as younger version of Chalamet. They did indeed seem like different aged versions of the same person. That was great. Now, Dustin Hoffman's movies and Hoffman himself have been nominated for and won quite a number of Oscars, right? You should see them. They're very, very good. Dustin Hoffman had a really amazing stretch of work there. So how about Beautiful Boy? Will that be an awards contender as well? I worry about the Love, Simon effect, to be honest with you. That some people will feel it's not dark enough, right? That it's too suburban. And to be honest, it takes what I think might be labeled as a conservative turn towards the end of the movie, but I feel that label would be unfair. I think the movie, in fact, is very brave in how it honestly shows a father's impossible decision. I mean, and Steve Carell plays just such a wonderful, but yet very human and flawed father. And I think there's also there's a commentary on divorce here as well, which I'm not sure how people will respond to either. It's not overt, but it's certainly, in the soup, so to speak. And the whole point of this movie, I'd like to say, is that America's drug problem is not just other people's problem anymore, right? But it is coming into suburban homes and the lives of people who would never, ever, ever have expected to be touched by drugs and haven't in all of American history. But here it is. However, I can see some people in the media and the industry who have, and those who have been in the trenches with drugs for a long time on either side, especially because the industry, particularly the awards voters, tend to skew older, and so they were around in the 70s, right? I think that they see the drug situation still very much of that time period, and I think I can see them holding that against this movie, but I think that would be a mistake. I loved it. I thought it was raw, powerful, honest, and fresh. And also, award season, as we know, it's so political. It's all about not just the quality of a film, but what its message is. And I think it's really important to get new messages in there. And this, again, is such a new message. I mean, America does have a horrific drug epidemic, unlike it's ever seen before, reaching Americans that beforehand have remained untouched. And I think that's great. And I think that this movie not only portrays that, but does so in a realistic and honest manner. I was really impressed. So that's my review of Beautiful Boy. I'm curious to hear your thoughts down below. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.